What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the Big Blue in the Bronx YouTube channel. Be sure to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe to turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops your drops. Appreciate you coming back. Got a lot of content for you on the way, of course, within the next few days. I think I'm going to do a Saquon Barkley video just like this one. I had a YouTube short out today about Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley both being on the roster for 23. If you haven't already checked that out, please. On Saturday, we got the Entertainer. We got Diggy. We got a couple other guys coming on, talking New York Giants, talking the offseason, the Saturday before free agency. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We got the Dead Red podcast on Thursday, talking some spring training stuff and a little bit of the Giants conversations as well. Friday, we got Friday Night Knicks. And there's just a lot of stuff happening on here. We're really excited, hoping to reach that 1K mark by the end of March, specifically opening day. So if you haven't already subscribed, share out all the good stuff. So, Daniel Jones is back in blue, and this is not really a news video. This is more of a pros and cons evaluation, analyze type of video. And I have my notes written here, so you know I mean business. But with that being said, first thoughts. I'm happy Daniel Jones is back in the New York Giants uniform, and I'm happy that the Giants have picked a direction. Now, obviously, we have to wait and see if it pays off, because it really hasn't paid off yet. There is 1 year of production, all these different things that go into it, but I just didn't want to be at the whole spot again, and maybe we will be in a few years, maybe we won't be, of, oh, we got to pick a quarterback, take the quarterback, 3 years worth, and then boom, and we lose guys in free agency because we're not a playoff team during the primes and all these sort of different things. So, I'm just happy that Daniel Jones is back. Now, overall thoughts? Before we go to the pros and cons in terms of the value per year, math-wise, 4 years, 160, $40 million per year. I don't think he's worth that. I don't think he's worth that. Now, obviously, there was some things that kind of moved around this weekend. Derek Carr got $37.5 million. Geno Smith got $35. I've always been on the number of 35 is my max for Daniel Jones. If I was the GM, and I'd be acceptable with that. And I understand, listen, I'm not in the building, I'm not in the negotiations, all these sort of different things. But it just seemed to me that 35 was the most I would give him, the most I would accept, the most I would be okay with. And then I slowly extended it to 36, 37 within the last day or two because of the Geno Smith deal. And I believe that Daniel Jones is better than Geno Smith. Geno did throw for more passing touchdowns this year, but, he really hasn't been consistent. And, yeah, Daniel Jones hasn't been consistent either. But, Daniel Jones, he still had his rookie year, which was very good. And then he had this past year, which he was good, not great or anything like that. So, just some instant thoughts there. And just some background real quick for the people that are not familiar with the Daniel Jones situation, maybe want to learn more. First year with Pat Shurmur, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, a load of fumbles. Pat Shurmur's fired. Mike Shula's fired. All those guys are fired. Moving to his second year, 2020, 2021, with Jason Garrett and Joe Judge and not Shea Tierney. What's the other idiot's name? Jerry Shaplinski. So he has like a total of 21 touchdowns in 2 years, which is not very good in terms of production. He got hurt a lot in those 2 years, and just the production was terrible. I believe a lot of it was coaching based, but also he did not do the best in some of those situations, missed reads and all these sort of different things as well. And then 2022, Daniel Jones took a lot of steps forward, especially in the second half of the season. The first half of the season, they really didn't use him a lot. They really didn't use him. They used mostly Saquon Barkley. They rode him like Seabiscuit, as our friend Donald likes to say. And then second half of the season, when Saquon was tired, he was gassed, they went to Daniel Jones, and he started producing. Not necessarily the best numbers in the world, not Patrick Mahomes numbers, but at least solid numbers that kind of put us into the playoffs. And once again, Saquon was a part of that too in the defense, all contributing factors. And then win a playoff game at the Vikings, lose a playoff game. It was very bad offensively, very bad coaching-wise, very bad everything at the Eagles. So there's that. And then leading up to this point, a lot of people were emotionally turned off by Daniel Jones in his camp asking for 45. And there was a lot of, hubbub in the media. I started to not listen to reports anymore because, A, I wanted this thing done. B, there's a lot of negotiating that happens through the media. Agents will send leaks. The front office guys, they will send leaks just to make the other side look bad. It's kind of an arbitration thing, just not in person, not in like arbitration court or any of those things. So today, March 7th, they get a deal done before the deadline, 4 years, $160 million. So I'm going to go with the cons first because it seems like there are more upfront cons about this contract. And I'm not trying to be negative. Listen, $40 million, the structure could be something that's a silver lining. I'm not going to overreact to it. I said on the Boys in the Big Apple podcast, if they gave him 45 per, I'd probably be a little bit more upset about it. 40 per, I'm not necessarily thrilled with that number. But with that being said, he's here and so is Saquon, and you have a little bit more room structure-wise to go get a free agent, maybe re-sign Julian Love, do a couple other different things in free agency, and then, obviously onward and upward, 2023, 2024, all that other stuff. So with pros, we're going to do potential pros because right now, as I said, there's a lot of more upfront cons in this situation. And we have to wait for those potential pros because they are potential. They're not proven pros. So cons, $40 million per. I kind of already went over that. But I'll touch on it again just briefly. I don't think he's at the level of Dak Prescott. I don't think he's at the level of Derek Carr, Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford is probably the best QB on this list of $40 million quarterbacks that I just mentioned. And I like, yeah, he had the bad year this year, the injury and all that, but he threw 41 touchdowns the year prior. And yeah, it is a McVay system, but I mean, you look in the past when he didn't have the best of systems, the best of rosters in Detroit, he still threw over 20, 23 touchdowns a year. Derek Carr, you can kind of say the same thing. He threw 24 touchdowns this year and didn't play in a load of games due to his benching. And, he also wasn't good due to the coaching staff, but also he had Devontae Adams. And then Dak Prescott. I mean, he was a turnover machine when he came back from that injury. So there is that. And, obviously they're looking to extend Dak, all these different things, whatever. But to me, I understand that this contract stuff is a lot of potential based. That they hope Daniel Jones can get better with better weapons and a better surrounding system and better route concepts, whatever. They could always make those adjustments. But you also have to go to the proven side, right? 24 touchdowns, and then his second most is 15. I know a lot of people go with the total touchdowns. Listen, that was a big part of his game. I think he had 7 rushing touchdowns, but still, I mean, he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Jalen Hurts where they're going to make you miss. Daniel Jones really doesn't make people miss. He's the kind of like that, I'm going to bruise you type running quarterback. So $40 million per, not necessarily a positive in my personal opinion. And then I'm not leaving it there. Because there is structure to talk about in this video. As I said, it's not just the headline of, $40 million per, that's trash. No. We break it down here. We give you the truth. We give our side. And we let the fans talk as well. So the next one is $63 million cap hit in 2024 ? I'll kind of include a potential pro in here. And that only works if this con is not a con and if it doesn't really show up. So apparently, and I've heard different things, so take this with a grain of salt. Daniel Jones, in his contract, is due $82 million guaranteed within the first 2 years. Now, people say, okay, 2-year contract, whatever, we'll talk about that in the pros more likely. But if he gets $19 million this year, which he is, $19 million worth of cap hit, and $82 million over the first 2 years guaranteed, what does that make for 2024? I don't give a shit we have 179 in cap space. You need to re-sign Barkley. You need to re-sign McKinney, potentially. You need to re-sign D-Law. And you need to re-sign Andrew Thomas and any other guys you feel are a fit for this roster, plus going out there and, the rookie contracts are always going to take a hit on that cap within the future and all these different things. So $63 million for a quarterback. Now, if it's a signing bonus type thing, where it doesn't count towards the cap, okay, then I'm okay with it. But $63 million, making that type of history for a quarterback that doesn't have a ton of production in his career, that's a little bit questionable. Ceiling-wise, I think there is a ceiling with Daniel Jones, my personal opinion. I think he could be better with better weapons, right? An upgrade over Richie James, Isaiah Hodgins. I think he elevated those guys, but there was always a limit. And maybe in the first half of the season, if you switch around the way the cards were played, being that Saquon was rode the first half of the year, maybe Daniel Jones has more interceptions. Maybe he has more touchdowns too. So, you could always play your cards that way. But I do feel that there is a ceiling with Daniel Jones. He doesn't have any elite traits, my personal opinion. He's got a good deep ball. His progressions are getting better. He's not an elite runner. He's a bruiser type runner, but he's not elite in that category. You can't really change somebody's talent level. This is not Madden where you up the overall. Daniel Jones, I think we know where he is with a little bit of questions. Con Q. What I call Con Q is kind of like a middle where it's a con, but it's also a question. Will this infringe on roster building? If that $63 million is a cap hit for 2024, and I'm a guy that focuses towards the future, not just, 2023 and all these different things, whatever. I like the fact that, $19 million this year, great, right? But I'm only taking that as a pro if it's not $63 million in the future. Once again, going back to team building, you probably have to sign Hodgins long-term if he does give you production in 23. Saquon Barkley, not Daniel Jones, Dexter Lawrence, Xavier McKinney, Andrew Thomas, other guys you want to re-sign. That's all going to include the cap for 24 and then potentially 25. So, once again, team building. Is paying this type of quarterback going to infringe on team building? Because you need to build the team around Daniel Jones. This is not Patrick Mahomes where you could put in a couple of decent pieces and he's going to make them go boom. No. Daniel Jones is not on that level as much as, some people may want to say it. Maybe people don't actually say it, but I'm just saying. And then potential pros. $19 million for 2023. That would be a big plus, once again, for the 90th time if $63 million is on the books for next year's cap hit, because you got 19 this year with Daniel Jones. You got 10, maybe even 13 mil. You could probably stretch it for Saquon Barkley if you do sign him into extension. I don't think major backloading needs to happen for Barkley because you're only upping it $3. I mean, you could cut Leonard Williams, I think, post June 1st for a decent amount of cap. You could even extend him if you want. You could lay out the money for Adoree Jackson, create some cap space there. There's a lot of different things you could do. But $19 million, I mean, that's team friendly for the first year of the contract. So there is that. Potential to improve. I think Daniel Jones, I think we know what he is, but we haven't seen that level of production kind of burst out of him yet with the better weapons. Obviously an upgrade over Rich James, Darius Slayton, maybe get a McCall Hardman in free agency, draft a receiver, Addison, Flowers, Smith and Jigba, maybe somebody next year as well. So potential to improve is always there. As a runner, I think this was his best season. I don't think you're going to get a second of that. I don't think you're going to get a duplicate of that. Passing wise, I think, let's be real. I think he can pass for more touchdowns. QB most QBs at $40 million, they need at least a solid O-line and solid wide receivers. And I don't know, obviously, yes, that's common sense is the ideal situation. But you take a look at some of these guys. What differs them from the Mahomes level, the Lamar Jackson level to an extent, the Josh Allen level to an extent, right? What differs between Carr and then that level of top quarterbacks in the league? Also include Joe Burrow in that conversation as well, is Dak Prescott, if he didn't have the team around him, he had the Giants situation around him right now, they would be much more garbage than they are right now. Matt Stafford, he was not looked on as a top quarterback in Detroit. Derek Carr, he's fallen under the radar for the past few years because of A, inconsistency, B, coaching that kind of leads into that, and C, I mean, up until recently, he didn't necessarily have the greatest amount of weapons. However you want to play that. And it's also kind of his own thing as well that he does not have a playoff win, unlike Ryan Tannehill, unlike Joe Burrow, unlike Daniel Jones. So you could kind of throw that in the threshold. But what I'm saying is, I don't like the argument of, oh, well, Derek Carr got paid $40 million, so Daniel Jones is okay for him. No. I don't like that argument. But if you want to create a silver lining and make your argument, say, look, these guys, like Daniel Jones, need a solid O-line, probably an above-average O-line, and wide receiver room and weaponry to compete and get you to the next level. So that's where Daniel Jones, you could kind of justify that. And then last one, get out after 2 seasons. As I said, a lot of people are saying it's going to be a 2-year contract, even though, yeah, it's 4 years, but you could get out after 2. It kind of gives Joe Schoen room a little bit. Listen, if you fuck up with the Daniel Jones thing, if he fucks up, whatever, you trade him, you cut him, you could go in 25 and draft a rookie, go trade for somebody else. There's going to be quarterbacks out then, too, in the free agent market. I don't know what they're going to be. I'm not looking that far down the road yet. But it kind of gives you room to unfuck the situation you originally fucked up, if I'm being graphic and transparent about it. Now, to end this video, I'm going to say something. And this is not cons. This is not pros. It's just the fucking facts. Like I've been stating all around here, opinion-wise, fact-wise, whatever. The expectations are up now. The Giants have to be a playoff team in 2023. And Joe Schoen has to justify that contract, right? A lot of people around the NFL, not that I care. I don't give a shit what Dan Orlovsky or Mike Greenberg think. I don't care. The Giants fan base is the voice of this organization. Yes, the front office and the coaches and the players, yes. But we pay the ticket money, the merchandise cash, all that sort of shit. We put the money towards the Giants organization. They do not. They just try to create negative attention. They will always hate on New York. I don't give a shit what anyone says. But with that being said, the expectation is higher. Joe Schoen has to justify that contract by building a team around Daniel Jones. And with that, Daniel Jones, right? A lot of people were emotionally disattached. Oh, fuck him. He wants $40 million a year. Well, you know what? Daniel Jones, for you, 2 reasons. Earn fans back on your side by putting up probably the best production you have, in your career. Put the best production up this year and further and show us you're consistent. And also for the contract proving too. Because you could be a solid QB that's our future quarterback in a few years, or you could get cut in 2 years and become a backup for the Indianapolis Colts. So you need to justify that. And once again, justification, expectations, all that is going up. So it'd be a little bit different if they franchised Daniel Jones and didn't get a deal done, or they went out and said, look, Daniel Jones is not our guy. We're going to go draft Anthony Richardson, or we're going to pursue the free agent quarterback market, or maybe even, the draft market, whatever. It would have been a different situation. But now that you got Saquon back, now that you got Daniel Jones back, a lot of people are looking on this team to be a playoff team. 2017, 2021, big free agent frenzy. And the Giants failed both those years, which got coaches fired. Do I think Dable will be fired in year 2? Probably not, even if we do go under 500, unless it's drastically terrible. But with that being said, you have to continue the process, Joe Schoen. You have to keep continuing to build the team, because guess what? There's a lot of holes on this team. Brian Dable, Wink, Mike Kafka outcoached the shit of the amount of talent that's on this team right now. You need to justify it by giving your coaches the proper talent to surround Daniel Jones with and justify that contract. Like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops your drops. Appreciate you all coming back. Hope I made sense in this video. Do you agree with the Daniel Jones extension? Do you not agree? What are your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to all the good stuff. As I said, a lot of content coming your way. We got a Giants live stream on Saturday with Tana, Diggy, Nate Talks Football possibly as well. What was I going to say? Close to 1K. So appreciate you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Peace.